Tunis International Radio, English program.
Welcome. It's a pleasure to be with you on the international service of Radio Tunis. Haya Tukebri in the studio and Jeannette Wahrani on the technical engineering side. Well, it's been a while, Jeannette. Welcome back. And today, a few things on our agenda for today. So we will start with Tunisian American Young Professionals Association with Mr. Mohamed Malouche, who is here with us to update us on the major accomplishments of this wonderful association, which is whose main objective is to try to leverage the Tunisian diaspora, to organize them and to increase economic ties and cooperation between Tunisia and the US. After that, hopefully we will talk about another interesting event taking place in Hammamet. ACYPL, the world's largest run students organization, is holding an interesting event on entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial skills, and it is in Hammamet. So we will know more about this event during the second part of today's program, and we will also talk about today, World Water Day, a very important event indeed to raise awareness about sensitizing people on the importance of water. And we will be back with more right after the first track for you. And the first track, I have tried to find something related to the topic, so I came up with this one. Hope you enjoy it.
When you're weary, feeling small, when tears are in your eyes, well, I will dry them all, I will push them all away now. I'm on your side. Times get rough, and friends just can't be found. Like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down like a bridge over on the streets, yes. When evening falls so hard, well, I will comfort you. Well, I will comfort you. I'll take your part. Darkness comes, around, oh, just like tears are on her way down. See how they shine. If you need a friend, I'm sailing right behind. Whoa, just like a bridge over trouble. I will ease your mind like a bridge over troubled water. I will ease your
Welcome back. You are listening to the International Service of Radio Tunis, and today our guest in the studio, Mr. Mohamed Malouche, Board Chairman of Tunisian American Young Professionals. He has come today to talk to us a little bit about some of the major achievements of this wonderful organization, then association rather, of Tunisian American Young Professionals. So welcome, Mohamed.
Thank you for having me, Hayat.
It's a pleasure.
See you again.
It's a pleasure. Well, shall we start by maybe having a quick look at the major accomplishments of 2013? Maybe some highlights.
Sure. So we've worked on a number of projects in 2013, and I will highlight probably two. Mm-hmm. The first one is our handicraft program. We, along with the Ministry of Commerce, with the LONA, the National Handicraft Office here, mm-hmm. And the U.S. Embassy, who's sponsoring this program, we have essentially started a program to help Tunisian handicraft producer export to the United States. Mm-hmm. And we've done that through both a mix of training, as well as visits to important shows in the United States. Mm-hmm. We went through a selection process of the products, of the handicraft producers, and we've done 3 shows in the U.S., 3 of them in New York City. Mm-hmm. 2 of them were with the New York Gift Fair, and one of them was part of an event called World Nomads, which was organized by the l'Alliance Française. Right,
in which Sonia Mbark
absolutely.
was...
It was a sort of an event to really increase the visibility of Tunisia in general. Mm-hmm. And the results are really stunning. I love talking about these results because it's really the hard work of a team of dedicated people who made it happen. Mm-hmm. And we basically took 16 artisans overall to New York. They spent 3 days each time getting training, but also talking to distributors, to wholesalers, making contacts, selling their products, and the sales numbers were absolutely astonishing. In fact, they sold in 3 days what they are only able to sell in 5 days when they go to a typical show in France. So we're very proud.
Wow.
And they had a backlog also, sort of a number of back orders. Mm-hmm. And they came back, frankly, with a Rolodex of people who they can pursue this business with. Mm-hmm. And so it has translated also in real job. I mean, we've created 20 jobs in 17 governorates. And it's not a lot because the program is small, and we'd like to sort of increasing and supersize it, but it's a beginning, and it's impacting the region, it's impacting women, because it's a sector that obviously mm-hmm. Employs a lot of women, and we're very proud of frankly that program. So that's sort of one of the things that we've really enjoyed doing.
Mm-hmm. I would like to go back a little bit over this one. You mentioned the products, the handicraft products. So which products were targeted? In these fairs and in these exhibits,
that's a
and
great
in your
question.
Selection process as well.
Yeah, we went and brainstormed with the 3 stakeholders that we had on sort of how to go about this. The basic assumption was that products that we would sell in the United States need to be usable in a way.
Right.
So traditional products like a shashia or al-qfas, they're not going to work,
Sure.
But things like scarves and other things that or purses that could be usable. Will actually work very well. We hired a marketing consultant who came and trained our selection of artisans here in Tunisia. And showed them sort of what designs would work, what colors would work, what trends would work, what are the regulatory constraints. For example, you can't use, in ceramics or in potteries, you can't use like paints that is with lead.
Right.
It has to be
Right.
lead-free.
Right.
So there's a number of parameters.
Standards, yes.
Yes. The selection was very transparent. The Ministry of Commerce has issued basically a statement, asking the artisans to submit their application. The selection criteria were really, we tried to choose people who had a little bit of a minimal of a critical mass, not big companies, not really small companies, but sort of in between, because in order to sell and export to the United States, you need to have a little bit of a critical mass.
Sure.
And
these products, so were like maybe did they correspond a little bit to the needs of the American market?
They loved it. Absolutely loved it.
What were the products that sold most?
See, that's where next time we need to bring our project manager, so he'll update you on everything. But
were there like any food products, for example?
No, there were.
Was it only handicrafts?
No, it was only handicrafts. Although this concept and this framework that we've used, which was developed by a professor of marketing at University of Tennessee, Anis Menif, and then we have a project manager here, Wasim Ben Yahya, who's in Tunis. This framework is applicable to a number of, frankly, other products. It could be applicable to olive oil. It could be applicable to citrus. It could be applicable to dates, a number of other things.
So you said 3 exhibits were held in New York City.
Right.
And any other exhibits elsewhere? Or did you target only New York City?
Well, it's New York has sort of a network of distributors and
it's such
wholesalers
a cosmopolitan city as well.
that is sort of serving the entirety of the United States. And then we also had a focus on fair trade, because it's an important component.
It is, yes.
And New York is big on fair trade. It's just a hub, it's spread out, and then there's also obviously the cost equation. You don't want to sort of take people, because flying 8 people, or in this particular case, 16 people to New York City, having them stay in hotels, all of this is expensive. So we were trying to reduce sort of the impact on cost, but increase the impacts of our action.
And the people you've selected, how did they manage over there when it comes to language? For example, were they all proficient, or could they all speak a little bit of English at least to get by, and to talk to people and to get their products better known, and especially to try and attract maybe, partnerships or joint ventures or things like these?
So that's the purpose of the training we've organized in Tunisia before they left to the United States. The reason why we brought consultants in Tunisia was to really help them sort of adapt to the lingo, to the language that they will need to use to communicate with some of the distributors, the wholesalers. Some of them were proficient in English, but the majority of them were not. And so type has helped them, organize meetings, discuss things, but they were doing very well as well themselves, because when you're coach and you have information that's fed to you prior to the event, you're better equipped and you study it, and, it's all about selling it. And so they were very good. And then after they left New York City, we prepared for them sample letters and emails so they can do follow-ups. So we had 3 types of letters, so that if they want to follow up to strengthen a partnership, or if they want to follow up about an order, or if they, so they had guidance throughout
models.
Exactly. And so
Right.
that's why, we worked very well with them, and I think they were very pleased with the experience.
And so will there be like another maybe exhibit, since this one, from what I heard now, was a real success? So will there be another edition maybe of this event?
So the good news in all of this is that l'ONA, l'Office National de l'Artisanat, has actually decided now to, essentially make this program as part of their regular programs, which was not the case before. So now they're going to take artisans twice a year in New York City.
That's interesting.
In February and in August.
Right.
And so we are still going to be their partner. We're still going to be working with them, but they're taking the ownership. And so we're very pleased because it's making the project sustainable. I mean, we're not going to be around, obviously, all the time. And if we get ownership and sustainability, that's really our goal at the end of the day.
Right. And you mentioned earlier on women as part of this project. So how many women were there out of the 16 you took?
A good proportion. I don't recall exactly, but it was a good proportion. I was in a debrief session here, and I want to say like more than 60%, were women.
Right.
Women entrepreneurs, basically.
Right. Okay. So this was one of the major highlights for 2013. This
Yes.
handicraft project.
Yeah, it was really great. It was a great project. We have a couple of other things going on. I mean, we continue our entrepreneurship mentorship effort, although we want to institutionalize it and we want to make it sort of not a hobby, but really an institutional program. We're still working on investment. Now Tunisia is sort of back on track,
Right.
and we feel like there's an opportunity now to come back to potential investor, not really to bring them today or tomorrow, but to plant the seed in their mind and tell them that Tunisia has the ingredients for predictable stability, and that if they are first movers and if they can take the risk now, that they can benefit from a number of really what's associated to first mover advantages.
Has the travel ban, by the way, been lifted by the U.S. By the State Department?
No, unfortunately, not yet. We're very hopeful that
So I think it's going to be very tough for you. I mean, to try and convince, these people to come and invest. Although the
Yes.
situation is much better, and of course, the American government has approved the new move, and the
Sure.
appointment of the new interim minister, etc. But again, the situation is not that stable.
No, it's not ideal, but I think it's moving towards the right direction, and I'm hopeful that with Prime Minister Jamaa going to Washington D.C. in 10 days, that this topic will be discussed, and that even if the travel ban is not lifted completely, that it could be lightened up a little bit.
Do you think the visit could ease that?
I'm hoping.
Let's hope so. Yes. What about the Tunisian American Young Professionals? What are they maybe preparing for this visit? Will you be involved in one way or another?
Yes, we are working with our friends at the AmSham, Tunisia, to organize essentially a business forum with them to have exposure to investors. And we're helping. We're helping throughout the visit to connect the dots. In my mind, I'll tell you the truth. I think the visit itself is awesome, but I think what's going to happen after the visit is even more important.
That's the most important, of course.
Because things are going to happen during the visit, but real things, real working
concrete
groups,
things.
Concrete things are going to happen after the visit. And so, in my mind, what's important is really to prepare the post-visit, how things are going to unfold, how to maintain the attention on Tunisia, how to focus on the real issues, how to strengthen the economic partnerships, rather than just really focusing on to me, it's like important to prepare it and to prepare the post visit.
Yeah.
The visit itself is just, the check the box.
That's right. So that's the protocol, and that's, it will be in the media, for a few hours, and then people will forget about that. But what comes after, that's the most important.
Yes.
That's what will unfold. Right. Now we come to maybe to entrepreneurship. and the efforts of Tunisian American Young Professionals in promoting and in maybe trying to have all kinds of programs in order to leverage, this concept of entrepreneurship among young professionals, among the SMEs, what we call the SMEs, the startups, etc. So tell us about the efforts in this respect.
Yeah, sure. One of the major components of our action since the beginning was that we thought about how we could support the development and the transition in our country. And one of the natural things that came to our mind was to really have each Tunisian, who had experience in the United States, essentially serve as a mentor or help support the development of younger folks here in the country. So we've done it really on an ad hoc basis, but it was a way also to involve our diaspora because, the diaspora in the United States is geographically sort of everybody is in. So how do you make people come together around a theme that, doesn't require you to be physically present somewhere? And so, in our mind, mentorship could be done through technology. It could be done through, sessions, WebEx sessions or GoToMeeting session. And the folks that volunteer for these types of things are very motivated to do it because, frankly, not only do they want to go give back, for sure. I mean, they're far away from the country. They want to give back. But they learn so much, from the experience. They learn about the creativity of our youth. They learn about the difficulties they're experiencing. And it's hands-on experience. It's real things. They start to understand sort of what is, what could be improved in the system. And it's been a very fulfilling experience for all of us. And it's made sort of all of us more aware of the situation in Tunisia practically. So the entrepreneurship program, we are trying right now to, work on a sort of institutionalizing our efforts. Instead of doing them as hobbies, having them, institutionalized with like a platform, a secretariat that manages sort of the mentee to mentor relationship. And so, we're putting together this program as we speak, and we're hoping that, in coordination and cooperation with our friends at the Tunisian American Enterprise Fund, that we will make it happen.
The Tunisian talent diaspora. What is that? Is that a network of all the diaspora in the United States, in all the regions of the U.S., and you try to establish a network in order to better promote maybe the partnership with the U.S.?
Yeah, I mean that's the key. It's how to bring or have to have a collection of people who are willing to do this. But who bring different expertise, different experiences, different know-hows, and bring them together sort of in this network so that they're able, when the need arises. For example, let's say, one of our entrepreneurs was wanting to go through a patenting process. Well, a lot of us, have business backgrounds, we have technology backgrounds, we have financial backgrounds, but not necessarily any patenting background. And so that's when if you are able to sort of connect all these talents together, you're able to find various skills that essentially are useful to an entrepreneur as they evolve in their growth and as they evolve in sort of strengthening and building their company.
Yeah, providing assistance. I mean, from beginning to
throughout different stages of their
different
growth.
Stages, right?
Yeah,
maybe one other interesting project is the Tunisian American Enterprise Fund. So this is maybe the latest born.
Right. Yeah, so it's not a born of type.
No.
Although we wish. But
what is it exactly?
So the Tunisian American Enterprise Fund is it's $100 million fund that was established by the U.S. government to support SMEs in Tunisia, and it's actually forming. Right now, it's we're setting up operations. I'm on the board of the fund, so we're setting.
Funded by MEPI, is it, or by the?
It's funded
American
by USAID.
USAID.
It's funded by USAID, but it's been approved by Congress, in, I believe, 2011 or 2012. It's not time to deploy. So there's a board that has been built. There's an executive team that's being built. There's an office in Tunis now. And the goal is to essentially, identify some of the gaps that, could be, we're not trying to come and replace other funds, or we're not trying to sort of come and replace private equity firms, but we're really trying to complement their action and support them, not only with funding, but also with expertise, with mentorship, etc. This program is essentially going to group all of the U.S. Government actions towards Tunisia as it relates to entrepreneurship. And so it's sort of an umbrella program, and it has funds, which is really important. It's going to, there's a strategy that has been established that consists on essentially building what we call platforms, which are essentially partnerships between, various players of the ecosystem, like universities and incubators and funders, so that an entrepreneur has sort of a one-stop shop destination to deal with, but also gets sort of all the ingredients that are needed to nurture him and support him or her and grow them. And so the real thing is that in Tunisia today, the entrepreneurship ecosystem is fragmented. So you don't have, the link between incubators, between sources of funds, is forming. I'm not going to say it's completely fragmented. It's forming, and we're trying to strengthen it as well. One sort of image, if you want to sort of visualize it, is really, if we want to create a Google or a Facebook here in Tunisia, we need to create the internet first.
Sure.
So we need to create the baseline, the ecosystem of so that these enterprises could grow in an easier fashion. So that's really what we're trying to do. And so the fund is rolling out operations as we speak. We're talking to a number of partners. And we're building relationships. We're trying to understand some of the gaps. We're trying to understand some of our we obviously understand our differentiators, but we're trying to sort of really move it so that we can build these platforms as early as possible.
Any particular sectors in focus for this fund?
Yeah, great question. So we're focusing on a few sectors, value-added sector in general. ICT is one of them, the information communication and technology. We're focusing on agribusiness, potentially on health and education. But the general focus is on SMEs. The important thing is, I think, that all of this is going to be done through partnership. For example, if you take and the key differentiator of the fund is that it could bring the network that it has in the United States and pair it up with promising folks here in Tunisia. So, for example, just to take an example and go back to the olive oil example that you brought up, you could see an olive oil company here in Tunisia being linked to an agribusiness company in the United States that has developed its value chain, its branding, its marketing, its supply chain. And if you link them in a joint venture, the fund will say put 40% of the capital into that joint venture, and will not only fund it, but also help it, in terms of governance, in terms of processes, etc., make it successful. And so that's sort of one of the examples of our strategy.
Right. Maybe one last thing will be about the Tunisia chapter of Tunisian American Young Professionals, and maybe the role it will have during the next visit, which will be in May, of the business delegation you talked about earlier on.
Oh, yeah, that's true. So the Tunisia chapter is a very active chapter. We have been obviously in touch with them and coordinating with them. They've done a couple of conferences that had, very good impact. We are obviously going to rely on them heavily for this visit of the American Council for Young Political Leaders, ACYPL. We've organized a similar visit in December 2012, but in a nutshell, what it is that it's a delegation of young politicians, in general, 4 Democrats and 4 Republicans, who are coming from the states.
And they are the decision makers.
They are congressmen and senators,
yes.
but they're young, and they're congressmen and senators, but at the state level. And so we're bringing them essentially in their first trip overseas. And it's very important to impress them because they will remember this trip their entire life. And if one day they become congressman or senator at the national level, that could have a huge impact.
That could be a landmark visit.
But even today, given that they're coming from different states and business investment comes from the states, it doesn't come from Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
So it's important to nurture relationship, to build those relationships with these folks because they could be bringing, obviously, investors. They could foster educational exchanges, so our students here, can benefit from exchanges. And so it's really an important delegation and visit that's there to build the future. We're all about sort of working on building those relationships and on nurturing those relationships for the future.
So, Mohamed, you have elected a new board for 2014. For Tunisian American Young Professionals.
Yes, you know everything.
President.
We do. We have 6 American board members and 6 Tunisian board members. The board is really there to provide guidance to our executive team. Our executive team is made of Firas Ben Ashur, who's our president, and of Munadar Ben Hamida, who is our executive vice president. And the board is there to really prioritize the action of the executive team and provide them guidance. The board is also very important in terms of our advocacy effort because we have in it a number of former ambassadors in Tunisia. Ambassador Gordon Gray, who used to serve as the ambassador of the United States here in Tunisia shortly after the revolution. Ambassador Bill Taylor, who is also had an important role at the State Department. Ambassador Walter Cutler, who served as the U.S. ambassador in Tunisia in the 80s. Then we have a lawyer. You always need a lawyer, Kathy.
Certainly.
We have also a journalist, Jim, who is the editor-in-chief of World Affairs. And then we have a think tank person, Dania, who is the director of the Atlantic Council. The Rafiq Hari Center at the Atlantic Council. We also have 6 Tunisian board members, Miriam at the World Bank, who's my wife, and, there's Mundar and Firas as well, and Ziad Mhirsi, who, you know well, Hatem Salemi, who founded Predictix in Atlanta and in Tunis, and I think I'm missing somebody, and I can't recall who it is.
No problem. Well, it's a wonderful team, and I think you are doing a great job, and to try and promote these relationships between Tunisia and the U.S. The prospects are huge. The efforts are huge as well. Let's hope that the results will be maybe as big as the efforts, and we really look forward to this delegation, to this business visit in the month of May, and we hope to be to cover part of that as well as part of this program.
We'll bring them here.
Well, yes, it will be our pleasure. Thank you so much, Mohamed. So what is the final message?
Look, the final message, I think, is we're continuing our efforts. The key, I think, to our success has been to focus on real projects, on real action that can provide real impact. And the key also has been to empower our members and make them essentially ambassadors of Tunisia in their own region, in their own city, by providing them tools, presentations, by providing them content, that they can essentially use to present to their community, present to their chambers of commerce locally, etc. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to move to a much more decentralized effort, even though a lot of our advocacy action is still happening in Washington, D.C., because that's where it needs to happen.
And let's hope that there is more positive visibility of Tunisia, on the U.S. Market in general.
We are on the rise. It's unbelievable. In the past 2 months since the adoption of the constitution, Tunisia has really, really been on the rise, and I'm hoping that the visit of Prime Minister Joma is going to consolidate that and increase it and really make this strategic dialogue that's going to start between Tunisia and the United States a fruitful one for our people.
And maybe the elections as well, the holding of the next elections, hopefully will boost that and will grant more transparency and more reliability to what the country is going through.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Mohamed, and wish you all the best and a safe journey back to the U.S. in a few days.
Thank you so much for having
we
me.
look forward then to having this delegation among us in the month of May.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Stay with us.